The UN Security Council is due to vote today to lift a nearly decades-old arms embargo and targeted sanctions on Eritrea. Diplomats welcomed the country's rapprochement with Ethiopia and thawing of relations with Djibouti. Unconfirmed reports say the 15-member council completed negotiations on Monday and agreed on a British-drafted resolution to remove the sanctions. A resolution needs 9 votes in favor and no vetoes from the United States, China, Russia, Britain or France. Now, the draft resolution would immediately remove the arms embargo and targeted sanctions imposed on Eritrea. It will also urge Eritrea and Djibouti to work towards normalizing ties. Those sanctions were imposed in 2009. That's after UN experts accused Eritrea of supporting armed groups in Somalia. Eritrea has denied those accusations. Well, let's get you more on this now. We're now joined in studio by Dr. Hassan Kanenje, an international relations expert and the director of the Horn Institute at the International Institute for Strategic Studies in Kenya. Doctor, pleasure to have you with us. Now, 9 votes needed in favor, no vetoes by the permanent members of the Security Council. Is it likely that these sanctions will be lifted?
Actually, there is a general consensus, especially since the normalization of relations between Eritrea and its neighbors, that perhaps it should be rewarded and encourage further internal reforms and external reforms of relations in the way it deals with its foreign policy abroad. And a part of it has to do with the fact that, Eritrea has been a pariah state for the better part of the last 10 years. And I think it's about time it was rehabilitated back into the international community.
And as you said, it was a pariah state for the past 10 years, but things suddenly changed so quickly in the past couple of months. Just talk us through some of the key conditions that Eritrea has met that would support the lifting of these sanctions.
Part of it, of course, had to do with normalization of relations with its neighbors, but also trying to stay away from subversive activities that it's been accused of doing both in Somalia and in Djibouti and in Ethiopia. For instance, for a long time it's been accused of siding with Al-Shabaab or arming them. Now, recognizing the importance of being rehabilitated, I think Eritrea has moved very proactively in trying to ensure that both internal reforms such as forced conscriptions of its citizens is stopped, and normalizing relations, opening up the port of Massawa for business. I think those are pretty good signals to allow for the return to normalcy.
And of course, these sanctions were in place for almost a decade. What impact did they have on Eritrea?
Again, this has some of perhaps of the most biting sanctions a country has faced in recent years. We saw that Eritrea, because of the limited political space and the bad economics, it became a highly securitized and police state, forcing citizens, thousands of them, to migrate outside the country. A lot of them, we've had them die at sea and stuff like that. And so I think this restoration of Eritrea is going to go a long way in making sure that not only does it allow the economy to grow of Eritrea, but also for the citizens to start enjoying certain basic freedoms and liberties.
You've mentioned just how important this normalization of ties is for Eritrea with its neighboring countries. With the sanctions gone, however, will there be other mechanisms in place to ensure that this normalization continues between Eritrea, Djibouti, Eritrea and Ethiopia?
Like any sanctions regime, for a country to ensure that it is complying with the terms of the agreement on lifting of sanctions, there has to be some kind of a snapback clause, like what we had seen with regard to Iran and stuff like that. Now, they also need to establish a mechanism of monitoring compliance, because outside that, then there are no reasons why they shouldn't go back, even though just the benefits that Eritrea itself will be getting from IGAD countries, from the region and from the outside world, I think they're going to be extremely reluctant to go back to the status quo because it hasn't served them well.
Indeed, indeed. Dr. Kanenje, thank you so much for your time joining us here
Thanks for having
in
me.
studio.